We're into week 20. It's the playoffs for some of you, so let's take a look at how the week plays out. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and boom! I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Also, check out lockedondaily.com. and find the best newsletter for your favorite NBA team. That is lockedondaily.com. Okay, we're here with all you double bangers, ready to talk about week 20 in the NBA, Yahoo matchup 18, and the start of the playoffs for the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. It is World Teen Mental Wellness Day. So I know there are people who are teens that watch this show, or you might have teens of your own. Again, mental health is incredibly important in so many parts of life because it's not just about, well, you know, mental wellness is maybe a better term because it's not about being, well, sick or unhealthy. It's about just keeping things good. You don't have to be mentally ill. You can just be mentally well or unwell and improve that health. I hope that distinction does make sense because I feel like there's a lot of things in the world where we lack the nuance of certain distinctions. It's either one or the other. When in everything, there's just multiple options through different things and different gradings of stuff, and we need to always be aware of that. Like if I say a player is not good, it doesn't mean that I think they're bad. It means that I think they're not very good. And there's levels. There's unbelievable, there's excellent, there's great, there's good, there's sort of good, there's average, there's below average, there's not very good, there's bad, there's terrible, there's useless. There's Taylor Horton Tucker. All of that stuff, right? There's different levels of these things. And I know I'm going on about this and I probably will stop because we're here to talk about week 20. And this is a very interesting week across the NBA for a particular reason, because like I said, it's the start of playoffs, but it's also a week where we are fully into streaming. It is the perfect week. And I don't say perfect lightly. Well, I do. You can say perfect pretty easily. Because every day this week, we can stream. Outside of very obscure, niche type league setups, we're streaming all days. Monday, 7 games. Tuesday, 9 games. Wednesday, 8 games. Thursday, 6 games. Friday, 8 games. Saturday, 8 games. Sunday, 8 games. What a schedule. I love that. I think that is perfect for the way that we play fantasy basketball. I think it's perfect for consuming content across the NBA. I think it's perfect for, honestly, that's not true. I'd prefer that we didn't have back-to-backs through any of the league and we'd had a smaller selection of games each day so we can really dig in and pay attention to what's going on with a more holistic view, but whatever. For the way that we set up with an 82-game schedule across 25 weeks, having weeks like this is perfection, and it's perfect for us in fantasy, but it's also becomes vitally important that you understand the game that you're playing. Do you understand the settings that you're in your league this sort of a week? Because these are the weeks where there is no, well, I'll do this and I'll do that. Like there is certain ways that you get an advantage, and it is very clear. And like I said in previous shows, while you say, well, if everyone in my league does it, I don't get an advantage. True. But if you don't, then you're at a disadvantage. And it's almost that idea of the tanking or the lottery odds are flattened. Sure, but if you finish 4th, you might have the same odds as number 1. But if you're 4th, you can fall down all the way to pick number 8. And if you're number 1 in the lottery, you can fall down to 5. So your backside risk is largened. So yeah, while your opponents might be streaming as well, so you don't get the games played advantage, if you don't do it, you get the games played disadvantage. And often we don't look at both sides of that. Maybe that's going to be the theme this episode. We're going to look at from multiple angles and multiple approaches. Maybe, if I remember to. Let's have a look at how this week plays out. I think it is basically identical to where we were last week, with 18 teams playing 4 games and 12 teams playing 3 games. No 2-game week, no 5-game week. If you're watching on the video, you can see the teams up there. 4 games, we've got Atlanta, Charlotte, Cleveland, Dallas, Detroit, Golden State, Houston, the Clippers, Memphis, Miami, Milwaukee, Minnesota, New Orleans, Oklahoma City, Philadelphia, Portland, Sacramento, and Utah. And then the other 12 teams play 3. Brooklyn, Boston, Chicago, Denver, Indiana, the Lakers, New York, Orlando, Phoenix, San Antonio, Toronto, and Washington. But again, once more, when the games are played is important. The volume of games is also important. Now, you might think that with a week like this where we top out at 9 games played on a day, that the positioning of the games is not as important. And you'd be right in saying it's not as important, but to say it's not important at all would be incorrect. Because again, we are trying to maximize what we do. We are trying to get the best value in the right spots. And understanding when the games take place, what days we look at, how we maximize our advantage, because usually we want to hit upside, but we want to also make it so that in the general probabilities of things, we have the best chance of winning. That's really all we can do. Luck is always going to happen. Variance is always going to happen, and you can't do anything about that. What you can do is keep an insulation to try and limit the downside risk, while also improving the upside value, not upside risk, the upside of it, right? Those two things need to coexist to give yourself the best case chance of winning. And then if something goes bad and you've done all of that, you go, what am I going to do? Luck happens to everybody. Fantasy sports, real life, real sports, anything. There's always going to be luck, and you cannot control the way that stuff goes down at times. We should go now and talk about the quality games for the week. It's a very short segment. The reason it's a very short segment is that quality games are literally every day this week. Every day is a streamable day. I've previously been using 9 and fewer as a quality game day. I am going to bump it to 10, even though when we did the thing last week, with 10, we were probably getting 60% streamable, 40% not streamable for the feedback that people gave me. But I still think that we'll go from 10 and fewer as being a streamable day from now on. But it doesn't matter because we don't even hit 10 this week. We are at a situation where, in terms of quality games, every single day is a quality game this week. So when we are paying attention, when we are making our moves, we have to understand that there is no big volume day where we're going to have to be able to stash or make start-sit decisions. It's probably not going to be a thing for a daily changes league that happens this week. We're going to come back and talk stream zone because this is the important stream zone that we need to pay attention to heading into playoffs or last week before playoffs or 2 weeks before playoffs, whatever it is. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You know that when the NBA tips off, well, that doesn't mean it's over because there's so much stuff that happens during an NBA game for you to pay attention to. There's no better place to get in on that action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You can place live bets all through the game with FanDuel. So even if you miss that opening tip, you might want to check what's happening in a fourth quarter. Do you think a big comeback is happening? Do you think a team is going to pull away? Do you think someone's playing Charlotte and they drop a 50 burger on them? Who knows? You can do all of that stuff with the live bets. And if you combine your live bets on FanDuel into a same game parlay, well, you get a bigger payout by improving those odds. So right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That doesn't have to be a live bet. It could just be any bet. $5 bet, first one wins 150 bonus bets. So go to FanDuel.com to join today. That is FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, so we talked about the quality games. Let's get into the stream zone. Let's see how we're going to approach this. And again, there is no right or wrong answer to this stuff. There are answers, there are options. And like I said, when you're dealing with single game sample sizes or 2 game sample sizes, you will make mistakes. And that happens, and we have to take that risk on. I will do an update on my Week 19 stream plan, where again, what I have been doing, and I will continue to do the rest of the season, is it's like tracking my bets. It's like Pickett for this nonsense, right? Tracking if I had this player, I would add him, and these are my bunch of 8 guys that I would consider droppable, and I would add this guy, and I would add this guy, and I would add this guy, and we'll total up the fantasy points, we'll total up the categories, and see if it makes sense, and see if the streaming works. For this week, we have obviously in a situation where we've got everyday streamable, we need to be working out how best to use it. And the ways that I'm usually going to approach this, and you need to adjust for your own league scenarios, is that I'm working on a league setting where you've got 4 available moves. That's the standard for most. Majority of people play Yahoo leagues. Some of you will play Fantrax, and I guess most of you will put 4 moves as the setting there. Some of you play ESPN, where the number is 7, which, again, is crazy. On ESPN, when you've got 7 moves, you should always be looking at a minimum of 2 streaming slots. Always. When you hit playoffs, it has to be 2. There is no point doing single-day streams. You've got to hit 2 on ESPN. You have to. That is the easy, common-sense way to bludgeon an opponent. Honestly, you might even go 3. Maybe on one of these shows, I'm not going to do it today, we'll do an ESPN-based stream where we use 3 streaming slots with 7 moves and see what we can do with it, because you can get some value. But I think, once again, that the best option last week, the best option, I believe, or the more secure, where we secure our back end while bumping up our top end, was using a 1-slot stream with 4 moves, and I think that's going to be the case again this week. Probably less. Last week's was the 2-slot stream was bad because we can only do it 2 ways. We're going to do it 1 way. We had to go Hornets into Spurs. That's the only way we could do it. So our options were limited. It's not that way this week, but I think, and we'll talk about why in a second. This is the 1-slot stream is probably going to work because, like I said, every day is a streaming day. There's no 2-game teams this week. So everyone's either 4 or 3. So the fewest, whoever your worst player is on your team, they will have 3 quality games. They might have 4 as a bad player, but if you're talking 3-game players, they will have 3 quality games, the worst player in your team. There's no 2-game, there's no, well, you've got 3-game teams, but there's a high volume day in there where you can't stream. The worst player has 3. And because there's 7 days in a week, obviously the most you can get out of 1 slot is 7 games. So we can turn 3, again, can't be lower than 3. We can turn, well, it could be, I guess, if that player then got injured on Thursday and you only would have got them 1 game, which, of course, you cannot foresee that when you're making decisions earlier in the week. That's impossible to do. But we're turning 3 games into 7 games, plus 4. Let's use an example of the stream options you use that might play, let's say, even 20 minutes. That's 80 extra minutes. The guy you're dropping, let's say he's a 30-minute-a-night player who plays 3 games. They play 90 minutes. And then you add 7 games through that slot that average 20 minutes, which is very much on the low side. So that's 140 minutes versus 90 minutes. It's not double, but it's a decent chunk. It's a 50% increase in just total minutes, going on the real conservative side of playing time. And I just think that level of gap, which I'm looking at high level for your worst player at 30 minutes a game and low level of 20 minutes average streaming, it still comes out so far on top. The way to do it, I believe, to get your best result is going to be this way. And there are the schedule always throws up little bits and pieces where you have to go, okay, how am I going to do that? Because this is what happens this week. The obvious thing that most of you look at and you go Monday, Tuesday, back-to-back, Wednesday, Thursday, back-to-back, Friday, Saturday, back-to-back, hit Sunday. Or you can go Monday and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is. You've got to do 3 back-to-back streams in a single game, 4 moves, 7 games, the easiest math of all time. But again, nuance is important. So we can do this, and this is the way that we need to look at it. We do the Monday, Tuesday, back-to-back, bang. We do the Wednesday, Thursday, back-to-back. We do the Friday, Saturday, back-to-back. And then we hit Sunday. So if you want to take one thing out of streaming, a 1-slot, 4 move, that is what you do. That is the way to do it. Here is why. Because again, we could adjust that and make another day a single streamer. You can do that if you want. The problem is that there are 2 pairs of days in the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Thursday, Friday, where it's only one team with a back-to-back. So Wednesday, Thursday, it's the Celtics. Thursday, Friday, it's the Knicks. So your choices are limited. And the way that I decided, and I looked at every other combination, Monday, Tuesdays, and what you do on Friday, Saturday, or the Saturday, Sunday, and there was multiple options on all of those days, and there was enough options you could use. So basically we're deciding, would I have better value streaming in a Celtics player, Wednesday, Thursday, or a Knicks player, Thursday, Friday? And I believe, and you might be different on this, I believe that you have more options available for you for the Celtics. And here's why. Like, Drew Holiday may have been dropped, rightfully so. You can consider him on the back-to-back, although he might not play it. You could look at Luke Cornett. You could look at Sam Hauser. You can look at Nemesh Cater. On the Knicks, again, you might look at those options and go, Josh, like, what if Cornett doesn't play both games? What if Cater doesn't play? What if Hauser's out with a back problem in one of those games? All true. And you go, well, with the Knicks, I know that Juice McBride will play probably 34 minutes across 2 games. And that's definitely a fair way to look at it. But like Precious Achiuwa was out of the rotation last game. Played 4 minutes. So even if we go, well, Mitchell Robinson won't play the Thursday, Friday back-to-back, Achiuwa might play 4 minutes in one game and then play 14 in the other game. That's not good enough. So your options are down to like one player, Juice McBride. Because that is literally, I think, going to be because you can't stream Mitchell Robinson for a back-to-back, so you won't play it. You can't really stream Precious Achiuwa for the back-to-back if going by what happened last game where he just didn't play. Do you want 20 minutes of campaign across 2 games? The option would be Juice McBride. That's it. Whereas for the Celtics, I think you've got an option of Luke Cornett, especially with Porzingis and Horford probably sitting, well, definitely sitting. And if Cornett's available, you get 2 good games there. You might get 2 Neemias Queta games. Drew Holiday, again, probably doesn't play both, but if Pritchard was dropped, you use him. Sam Hauser get 2 games. So, versus like literally, I think for the Knicks being one option, Juice McBride, versus on the Celtics, Hauser, Cornett, maybe Queta, it just tips slightly that direction. Just giving you more options. But again, if you go, well, I think that McBride will be there for me, and I don't like the trust in Hauser, then adjust that stream so that Thursday, Friday becomes your back-to-back. So that you can do Monday and then go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a Saturday, Sunday, which is okay as well. That's the different way to do it. This is the way that I'm going to be approaching it during this week, is with just leaving the single game Sunday. I also like leaving a single game Sunday stream because then I can look at my matchup and go, what do I need? What do I need on my final day? And I tailor that move versus relying upon a Saturday, Sunday back-to-back. So I actually prefer that again, but you use your own thoughts and ideas on this. The thing that becomes interesting is if you go with 4 moves, what about if I do a 2-slot stream? And the words that I'm going to put up on the screen, I tried to make it make sense, and I hope it does. It's going to require my voiceover to explain a little bit more on it. Because if you've got 2 slots, theoretically, your 2 players that you would consider dropping would both be 3 quality game guys. That's fine with 12 teams playing 3 quality games and a plethora of options who could be on your roster you could drop. That's okay. So if you just held steady, you'd get 6 games out of 2 slots at the back end of your roster. And given the way the schedule plays out, if you look at the bottom part of this screen, you can get 3 games in 4 nights to begin the week. And you do that through a Hawk, a Warrior, a Rocket, or a 76er between Monday to Thursday. 3 games with 1 move. And then you get 2 games across the final 3 days of the week on Friday, Sunday. And there's like 18 or 20 teams that played 2 games over 3 nights to end the week. That turns 6 games from 2 slots, 3 quality games each slot, into 10 games total. It's a +4. It's still good. But as we noted earlier, if you just use 1 slot, you go +4 as well, 3 into 7. So that's actually not an advantage. It actually makes it worse because you probably end up dropping a better player from your second stream slot to overall get only the same game boost, which is not useful. So I don't even know if I'll track that bottom section there in terms of 2-slot streaming with 4 moves. Because I don't actually think that doesn't really give you an advantage, does it? It turns 6 into 10. That's +4, where I could turn 3 into 7, +4. That's no advantage. The advantage comes here with 2 slots, and this is I think it's very specific. If you have a streamable Washington Wizard player, who are those guys? I would say probably Alex Sarr. He's not even playing at the moment. He's been very iffy. Maybe he turns it on. I don't know. But if you're in playoffs, you got to just say see you later. Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, Rashawn Holmes, Chris Middleton. I would say Corey Kispert. I would say the only guy that I wouldn't even include in that is Jordan Poole, basically on that team. Who else would I even consider as a must-hold sort of a player across that time? It's Poole. So any Wizard on your roster that's not Jordan Poole, right, we see what they do. And this is why. It's because the Wizards play on Monday. But they're a 3-game team. So the Wizards play on Monday as a 3-game team. Meaning, for the final 6 days of the week, of course, because we can count, they play twice over the final 6 days. So if you've got a Wizard that's not named Jordan Poole on your roster in a 12, probably even 14-team scenario, but if you've got a Wizard that's not named Jordan Poole on your roster next week, you hold them, and they play on Monday. So you get one game out of them and you've used 0 moves. Don't add a wizard to do this because that defeats the purpose. I mean, you could if you're at the end of week 19 and do it. But if you've got a wizard and you're going to have a wizard at the start of your week on your roster, you hold them for Monday. And then you move on. And then in the final 6 days of the week, you can get 5 games in each slot. So if you had 2 wizards, even better. You can actually turn this into 6 quality games into 12, which is a +6, which is workable. But if you've say got 1 wizard and then another droppable player, you can turn 6 quality games, which is what you would keep if you didn't stream, into 11. You have the wizard on Monday, and then you move on from that guy. And then for the rest of the week, you get 5 games. So that's 6 games in one slot, which would have been 3 if you just held your Bilal. I'll just use Bilal as the placement guy. So if you held Bilal, you would have got 3 games. If you play Bilal Monday and then drop him, you get 6 games out of that slot. And then the other slot is 3 games into 5. So it's 6. If you held Pat, you would have had 6 games, but you can turn it into 11 under this very specific scenario. You have to have a wizard on your roster at the beginning of week 20 to do that. Again, don't just go and add a wizard for this 1 point unless you're doing it inside week 19 and that doesn't cost you anything there and you've got that ability to do that and then that gives you that little one-up advantage on Monday. Everyone else, there's no other team that plays on Monday that then only has 2 games the rest of the week. So there's no other team that gives you that advantage. There are other teams that once they play Monday, they've got 3 games left for the week, and then you're turning 3 into 5, which is like basically exactly the same as what we'd been doing anyway. So that's not that interesting. Well, I guess it's sort of it because you get the 1 game there, and then it's sort of it, but it's not really. It's also not really that. It's not really a big advantage. The advantage is going to come from if you have a wizard, or even better if you have 2. If you've got 2 wizards who are not Jordan Poole, you could drop. Remember, they don't have a 5-game week anymore. If you've got 2 wizards, you can go from what would have been 6 games into 12, which is a +6, which is better than using 1 streaming slot where you can only get +4. I hope that I've explained that well. Here is just the general summary on this. If you have a wizard on your roster that is not Jordan Poole, and you would classify them as one of your worst 3 to 4 players as a general thing. And it's not Jordan Poole, 1 wizard. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody on that team. I don't think I am. Like, who else is there that's not Jordan Poole? I just don't want to, I'm going to go and double check, so I don't want to just say something that's crazy and you're going, what about this guy? What about this guy? No, it's just Jordan Poole. There's literally nobody else. Yeah. All right, so it's just Jordan Poole. If here are the 2 ways to do this week. If you have Jordan Poole, if you have any wizard that's not Jordan Poole, you hold that player on Monday, and then you drop them after Monday, and then you get 3 games in the next 6 days with 2 moves. And then your second roster spot is you just drop whoever a 3-game player is at the back end of your roster, and you get 5 games in that roster slot, meaning you get 11 games total using 4 moves. If you don't have a wizard on your team, then you use 1 streaming slot, turn 3 into 7. Yes? So check first thing, do I have a wizard? Can I get a wizard in week 19 and maybe get the little bump there? If not, we're doing 1 slot. If we do have a wizard, we're doing 2. And again, you can do 2 if you want. It gains you no advantage than using 1. In fact, it's more downside risk. I really want that to I think these are the key strategic things for the week. And it really does. I absolutely hope that makes complete sense. Sorry for the weird cut. I forgot to put this part in, so I'm going to retroactively put it back into the show. But these are some guys that play 3 quality games that I think, they're all over 65% rostered on Basketball Monsters Advanced Metrics, so they're rostered in a lot of spots, that I'm going to be including in my analysis of guys that you could consider to drop to get the 7 games out of this slot. Okay? So we've got in Phoenix, Tyus Jones and Nick Richards. Tyus Jones is playing some more minutes at the moment. Nick Richards is I don't count Bol in this, by the way. I just hold him. But Nick Richards, 3 games. He's been better of late, but don't want to hold it. Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson's iffy. He's been playing well, obviously, but only 3 games. Is 3 games of Keldon Johnson, a notoriously terrible category league player, worth holding versus getting 7 games in that slot? Almost definitely not. I've got Day'Ron Sharpe, which is, again, an iffy one. Sharpe, we know the potential's there. But this is where the discussion comes in, or the decision comes in. Because if you're sitting and you are in the playoffs, stashing, waiting for maybe Claxton to get shut down or injured or minutes split or anything, which literally might not happen, while Sharp gets 18 minutes a night, is not good enough. So I would look at this week and go, okay, how desperate am I? How badly do I need to start? Sharp remains a solid stash, but again, the chances of Claxton getting hurt or just not playing is pretty low. And yeah, Sharp does enough in 18, 19 minutes, but not enough to make up for 3 games turning into 7. So this is all going to be dependent on where you sit. So Sharp is droppable in that spot. The Celtics, Peyton Pritchard, Drew Holiday. We're going to analyze whether it would be worth dropping them. You might make the argument, hey, why would I drop Pritchard? Was he good yesterday? Absolutely not. All right, and he's up and down in only 3 games. There is the interesting back-to-back in the middle of the week, but if you hold to wait for that back-to-back, that means you missed the Monday-Tuesday back-to-back and you're 2 games down. Ayodasumu. Are they just not going to use him now? He played like 24 minutes last game. That's not enough. Russell Westbrook and Aaron Gordon. Westbrook not playing enough at all, but he's still rostered highly. Aaron Gordon, well, he's got some real deficiencies and now he's dealing with an ankle injury. And 2 other names I want to bring up, Wendell Carter Jr. and Bilal Coulibaly. And I talked about this, or I am going to talk about this. No, I did talk about this. I'm all confused because I had to re-edit this part in. With the Wizards, is anyone who's not Jordan Poole, and these guys all don't fit that roster percentage criteria I'm using, but Sarr, Bub, George, Kispert, Middleton even. Like, they're not going to be worth holding in that situation where if you've got a Wizard on your team, then you can activate 2-slot streaming. So they are going to be part of that grouping of guys that probably can be moved on from in the majority of cases. Audash, NBA fans, get ready. Because if they swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, like Steph did the other day, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Now, what I have been told, apologies to you guys in Canada, the code doesn't work. It doesn't work for us here in Australia either, but in the States, it does. So I hope that you guys are able to take advantage of Steph's 50-point game the other day and get yourself a burger, a burrito, a taco, a chilaquile, a pizza, snacks, dips, biscuits, whatever it is, because you can get all that over for getting all the fellas, getting all the girls over to watch a game, and you got a little just sneaky 50% coupon in your pocket because someone dropped 50 the game before. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders of participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. All right, so we went really heavy on that streaming part of the show, and I think for good reason. Maybe you don't. Apologies, you can stream forward if you want. Let's take a look now at some schedule quirks across this time. We're going to go through 3s and 4s and 4s and 6s and all that sort of stuff and back-to-backs. But again, the planning of the week and working out how to maximize what you do is, I think, going to end up being probably one of the more important things that you do. There's only one team this week that does not play on the weekend. That's the New York Knicks. There are 2 teams that do not start until Wednesday. Boston and Denver. And Boston has Monday, Tuesday off, and then has the Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back. So be aware of that. For Denver, obviously, just watch with Aaron Gordon, who missed the last game with an ankle, and see how they utilize him. But that's really the only sort of quirky stuff. For the second consecutive week, we do not have any team that has a gap of 3 days during the week or a 1 game in 5-night period. No one has that. So we're not in those, hey, this guy's just wildly never playing for us. Let's take a look at the 3 game in 4-night situations. There are quite a few of these, and we take advantage of them like we mentioned earlier. Sunday to Wednesday, Cleveland, the Clippers, Miami, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Portland, and Utah. 3 games in 4 nights. Monday to Thursday, which is important if you are deciding that you're doing that 2-game 2-slot stream, which again you shouldn't. But Atlanta, Golden State, Houston, Philadelphia. Tuesday to Friday, this is the stream that becomes important if you've got that Wizard on your team, because you drop the Wizard after Monday and then you look at a Cleveland guy, a Clippers guy, a Minnesota guy, or a Knicks player. And Cleveland's got a lot of them. DeAndre Hunter, Ty Jerome, Sam Merrill, maybe Isaac Okoro, Max Strus. Feel like I'm missing somebody else, but there's a lot there. The Clippers, Chris Dunn, Derek Jones. Not going to be Marjan Beauchamp. They just waived him. There's a bunch of different guys you can use in that. Amir Coffey into that spot. Ben Simmons probably not, because the 3 and 4 always includes a back-to-back. Minnesota, is it TJ Shannon? Maybe, but we'll see where his role goes. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to loom really large there. And then in New York, well, we're back to that Juice McBride discussion. Wednesday, Saturday, 3 and 4, it's Boston, Charlotte, and Miami who have got that combination there. And then we go Thursday to Sunday to end the week. And this is why when we're doing 2-slot streams, if we're going to do it, you had to hit the 3 and 4 Monday to Thursday, because Thursday to Sunday, there's only one team with 3 games in 4 nights, and it's the Pelicans. We just want more choice options. Now, you could do it if you find great Pelicans options on the wire who are going to play 3 games in 4 nights. Maybe it is Alvarado. Maybe it is Bruce Brown. Maybe it is Cal Olynyk, who probably rests both Brown and Olynyk, so that nullifies their value. Maybe Jordan Hawkins. Maybe Kala Makovic. Maybe Yves Misi. And you've got those guys. You could do the 3 and 4 to end the week, and then you could hit someone who plays 2 games between Monday and Wednesday. But again, you're still not getting enough value through the 2-slot streaming. But that's the other way to do it, which I should have mentioned that earlier. If we look at 4-game in 6-night runs, starting on Sunday of week 19, heading into week 20, Cleveland, the Clippers, Miami, Minnesota, New York, Oklahoma City, Portland, and Utah, which for some reason I cut off. That's Sunday to Friday. Monday to Saturday, Atlanta, Charlotte, Golden State, Houston, and Miami play 4 games in 6 nights to begin the week. Tuesday to Sunday, which is 4 games to end the week without playing on Monday, Cleveland and the Clippers, Milwaukee, Minnesota, and New Orleans. 5-game in 8-night runs from Sunday through to Sunday. So that's Sunday of week 19 through to Sunday of week 20. There are a bunch of teams. But interestingly, Miami has got 5 games in 7 nights starting Sunday. Bam is banged up. Wiggins is banged up. Triple H, Jaime Jaquez Jr. is banged up as well. So just keep an eye on that. But 5 and 8 is Miami, Cleveland, the Clippers, Minnesota, New Orleans, Oklahoma City, Portland, and Utah. And then Monday of week 20 through to Monday of week 21, there's a lot. That's 5 and 8 nights for a lot of teams. Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, Golden State, Houston, Memphis, Miami, Oklahoma City, Philadelphia, Portland, Sacramento, and the Utah Jazzmen. Worth remembering for this week. I don't know that it's going to go this way, but when we're talking Jazz, it's going to get iffy. It is going to get very iffy, because on Sunday they play the Pelicans. They had a win where they tried to lose incredibly last game, and they still got the win against the Pelicans, against the Wolves, sorry. But they play the Pelicans Sunday. Then they got the Pistons Monday. So it's a back-to-back. So you already know that Collins and Markkanen and that they're not going to play. And they're not going to play that Sunday game. But then on Wednesday, they play the Wizards. Okay? On Friday, they play the Raptors. All right. On Sunday, they play the Sixers. So, is there a chance that Collins, Markkanen, Kessler, Clarkson, Sexton, is it a chance they only play on Monday and then they cop an injury for Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, or they're chopping and changing all week? So while they have 5 games in 8 nights, the Jazz, and then the other game after that is a game against the Celtics on the Monday, so the Monday through Monday, they've got 5 games in 8 nights, but 3 of those 5 are against literally like the worst teams in the NBA. 3 of the bottom 6 teams, 3 of the bottom 6 teams in the NBA, they play across that 5-game and 8-night period. So, I'd be very, very wary of the pre-shenaniganizing. If we look at 6 games in 9 nights, well, old mates, the Jazz pop up again, don't they? So the Jazz, if they got 6 games in 9 nights, 2 of those 6 games are against solid teams, the Pistons and the Celtics. The others, New Orleans, Washington, Toronto, Philly. What an interesting thing that'll be tracked. How much does Markkanen, Collins, Kessler, Sexton, and Clarkson play? 6 games in 9 nights, what do they do? 2 games? 3? So your George and Collier and Filipowski and Sensabaugh, is there enough in them with that? I don't know whether this will happen, but if they sit them, then we got to watch that. The other teams with 6 in 9 is Miami, Oklahoma City, and Portland. So 3 teams in the Northwest Division is an interesting little schedule quirk. That's why we call this section this schedule quirks. And I'll just put that little stinger up because now we're going to look at back-to-backs. Sunday into Monday, Miami, Oklahoma City, Portland, and Utah. Cool. Monday to Tuesday, Atlanta, Golden State, Houston, Philadelphia. Be aware when we're talking the single slot stream zone. We want to hit that Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. Atlanta, So many options. Levert, Niang, Terrence Mann even. All right? Golden State, Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski, Quinton Postman Pat. Houston. Well, Tari Easton's going to sit one of those games, isn't he? Or most likely. But Dylan Brooks is going to rear his head again. And then Philadelphia, Quentin Grimes, Justin Edwards, Gershon Yabusele, maybe Andre Drummond, maybe it's Boner time. Who knows what they're going to do? Tuesday to Wednesday, back-to-back. Cleveland, the Clippers, the Bucks, and the Wolves. Wednesday to Thursday, we talked about this already. It is only Boston in that spot. Thursday to Friday, we talked about this already. It is only New York in that spot. Friday to Saturday, Charlotte. A lot of back-to-back stream options there, and that's obviously horrendous news for LaMelo Ball and maybe Mark Williams, though he played the back-to-back. Miami and Toronto with that back-to-back. And then Saturday, Sunday, weekend back-to-back. If you decide to go that route, Detroit, Milwaukee, who have 2 back-to-backs this week, which is not great news for Damon and Yanni. I don't think they played 2 back-to-backs in a week, to be honest. And then there's New Orleans there as well. Bad for Zion, bad for Linux, bad for Brown across the weekend. That is how the back-to-backs shape up. Now, what we can do to end the week is just have a look at weekly leagues. If you're in weekly leagues, again, the quality games don't matter. The streaming does not matter. None of that stuff makes any difference. You generally just want 4 games over 3. 4 games over 3 is the way that you are headed. What I want to do is, I just realized something on the stream zone that I should have talked about, and I'm annoyed that I didn't. I might retroactively go back and edit this part in. And I'll leave this part in just to show you that I forgot something. And now I can come and talk about weekly leagues, which, sometimes we get things a little bit wrong, and I hope this comes across okay. Weekly guys to start who are sitting under 30% rostered. Yeah, I know it hasn't been great for Quentin Grimes. But Joel Embiid is gone. He's out for the season. We knew that was coming. Grimes' last couple of games were iffy. Does he play back-to-backs? Don't know. I don't know. But 4 games, worth looking at. Keon Ellis, pretty obvious add, I think, and start for the week. With 4 games on, they prioritize bumping his minutes last game, but even if he doesn't, even if he plays 21 minutes, getting the 4 in is going to be enough. Chris Dunn. Now, is he boosting because Norman Powell is out? A little bit, but he was starting before Powell got hurt. He started, I believe, pre-break, ahead of Jones. So he's not just starting because Powell is out. So, yeah, Chris Dunn. Karis LeVert. And you can throw in other Hawks in there as well. George Niang, probably. Maybe worth a look, but LeVert higher than Niang. Gershon Yabusele. Will his knee hold up? Will he be good enough? No, he's not good enough to be a must-add player in general, Gershon. But with 4 games on, that's worth looking at. And then Ty Jerome, who, again, I do not believe is more than a streamer. Hard for me to rely upon it. 18 to 19 minute a night, 7th man to be a must-roster guy. But with 4 games this week, that turns you into, with the potential of one of those turns into a 25-minute a night game, that turns you into a guy to grab, and you can actually consider starting this week. When you're talking about, there's so many teams that play 3 games this week that you've got to have a look to see which of those sort of 3-game players are going to be worth your while in terms of starting them or sitting them on the bench during this week. And yeah, that's a decision that can be a tough one to make at times. But if I just run through some of these teams that have the 3 games, like I mentioned, there's 12 of them. I'm just waiting for my screen to load up here on the back end. But if we're talking about 3-game guys that we can start for the week, like the Celtics guys, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derek White, Porzingis. Porzingis is a tough one here, obviously, because there's a back-to-back, so it's really only a 2-game week for him. So I'd say probably not with him, and you wouldn't start Peyton Pritchard. On the Nets, do you start Cam Johnson with 3 games on? Borderline. I wouldn't start Thomas or Claxton or Sharp. For the Bulls, I would start Giddey. Lonzo, no. Kobe White, maybe. Vooch, at this point, no, just because I don't know that he's going to be healthy. The Nuggets, obviously, it's Jokic and Murray. You start Brown, no. Porter, probably. The Pacers, Halliburton, Siakam, Turner, all starts. Nobody else. The Lakers, Luka, LeBron, Reeves if he's healthy. That's it. The Knicks, Towns, Hart, Brunson, OG, not Bridges. The Magic, Wagner, Banchero, that's it. The Suns, Durant, Booker, Beal, probably. I'd like to see the injury status. The Spurs, just Fox. It's the only guy I'd start. The Raptors, Barnes, quickly Barrett. There'd be the three I'd start. And the Wizards, well, it's just Jordan Poole. That is it in that one. And that is the end of a weekly preview show. So, I hope that all of that made sense. Apologies for the weird edit in the middle, but I think we'll get it right. I'm not a master editor, but we'll see how we go. Thumb up the video, leave your comments down below. Before you follow everything that I say blindly, check if it makes sense on your team. Check who you've got on your roster. Check what guys can be available. Check how you plan it out. It can take 5 minutes max for you to plan this stuff out and figure out what, and you become nimble during the week, but having the outline and set yourself up for the plan to work is probably your number one key. Working out who might be droppable and which guys I can target. But if you look at your waiver wire and the guys that you would target are absolutely nothing, especially making that decision between the Wednesday, Thursday, or Thursday, or Friday, whether it's Celtics or Knicks, you've got to have a look at that discussion. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.